Hey everybody! So for those of you who have asked me how I make my own coconut oil, I figured I'd make a short tutorial to show you step by step how I do it. I've already poked holes in the eyes of the coconut here to drain the water out. You can put that into a bowl, down the drain, use it for smoothies, cook with it, anything like that. Our next step is to break each coconut open with a hammer, and I'll show you the next step when I get to it. Once you pop the coconut open, it'll look something like this. Now comes the part of digging the meat out of the coconut shell and separating all the pieces of shell, throwing them away, and collecting all your pieces of coconut meat in a large bowl. This will require some additional tools. I just use a screwdriver and a spoon to get down in between the meat and the shell of the coconut, and if the coconut's ripe enough, it's usually pretty easy to pry that apart. So now I'm taking the broken up pieces of coconut meat and putting it in my baby bullet here. My blender broke, so I'm using this one, and turning it into this. It should come out really finely chopped. I've tried using a cheese grater and some other methods for this, but I really found that a small blender with a strong blade gets the best results. So on with the shredding. Okay, so this is what it looks like, all finely chopped. And I did forget to mention one step. When you're slowly adding the small chunks of coconut to the blender, add a little amount of water along with it. It helps to keep it moist, prevents your motor on your blender from burning out, and it also helps to extract the oil from the shreds of coconut a little bit easier. So I'm going to get prepared for the next step, and I'll show you in a minute. Okay, so this will give you a good idea of what your mixture should look like. Mine looks a little bit more like oatmeal because I let it sit for a couple hours. But you don't have to do that. You can do this right away. You stir it around, mix it up a little bit. If you added enough water, you should see some liquid already kind of separating down here at the bottom. So here I have a medium-sized bowl. I have a large colander because it fits inside the bowl without touching the bottom, which is important in order to get the oil to collect down there in the bowl. And then a smaller grade strainer, and I'm going to scoop some of that into here and then scoop it out with my hands and strain it through here. And I'll show you how to do that. I usually just use my bare hands. Some people prefer to put this in a cheesecloth or something of the sort. I just use my hands. I will warn you though, doing it this way does start to cramp your hands up after a while. So if you're not really strong or you have carpal tunnel or anything like that, I've heard a lot of people actually are using citrus presses to get all of this. And you can see some of it starting to come through down here. So I'm just going to repeat this step over and over again until I've gone through all of the coconut shreds here in the bowl, and then I'll probably do it again. So after you squeeze all the water and oil out of the shreds of coconut, this is what your coconut liquid mixture should look like. Kind of creamy, kind of chunky. Don't worry about it. It'll all separate. And then you've got this. if you have time to do another batch by adding a little bit of water and then squeezing it all out of here again through the strainer into here, that's what I used all that stuff there for, then you can go ahead and do that. Or you can cover this and store it in the refrigerator and then do the next round the next day. You'll probably only get 2 rounds out of 2 of those smaller size coconuts like I had. This we're going to leave in its container. We're going to let it set for at least a day or so, and we're going to skim the solid coconut oil off the top and put that in this jar here. I think it's a good sized jar for that. And we'll be ready to add more later.